Hello, my name is Martyna. I am from Fundacja Proscientia Publica. I am the Polish partner in Strong Together project. If you want to know a little bit more about me, about what I do in everyday life, about my experience and education, I can invite you to see the previous podcast where I introduced myself very clearly, so you could know more about who is really talking to you right now and why I'm really talking to you about things we're gonna discuss today. Today and in this video we're going to discuss mnemonics. I remember that I mentioned mnemonics in the previous podcast, but today I would like to tell you a little bit more about mnemonics. Previously, I just introduced the topic to you. I presented some mnemonics that I really like or that you may know from everyday life. And today I will explain some more information. I will give you the practical examples of how to use them, and how to practice mnemonics in everyday life. And of course, I will explain to you some benefits. And I will tell you a little bit about the history, because it may be fascinating for some people. But what mnemonics really are? Mnemonics are techniques that help us to remember different information. But how we really can use them? The first way to use mnemotechniques is just memorizing. Memorizing, like for example, how we can remember our password. Nowadays, if we have different email addresses or different accounts, it will be necessary to have a different password for them. Sometimes for each of them, and it can be really hard. We can be very busy, and sometimes we may not really want to write down our password, and it's completely natural. And mnemonics may help us to remember our password. Another thing is shopping lists. Sometimes we don't really have time to take our shopping list, or if we have time, if we are, for example, at home, not doing different things in the city center or in any other place, or if we just need to go right now, we forgot our shopping list, we can use mnemonics also to remember the crucial things we need from the shop. Another example can be addresses. Addresses, if we meet, for example, our old friend we haven't seen for years, and now this person appears and we really want to meet. This person invites us to visit them at home and gives it an address. We don't have any pen, we don't have phone or anything, so mnemonics will also help us to remember such information we get right now, and we have to remember, because otherwise it can be hard to reach our goal or to visit someone or to do anything else just without remembering some information. Then we have also phone numbers in the same situation as we had with regular addresses. We also can use mnemonics to remember names of new people we meet, family members of our friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, or any other person in relationship with our friends we just met. We can also remember other important data. Another benefit of mnemonics is the development of creativity. Creativity has different benefits for us, and more information about creativity, about benefits, about what it gives to us, and why it is important to develop our creativity is in one of our modules. So I can invite you to check the modules to learn more about creativity, and maybe to encourage other people to also live in a creative way. We can distinguish two types of mnemonics. The first one will be simple mnemonics like acronyms, rhymes, letter system, numbers represented by words, anything that we don't really need to have a lot of experience in, something we can develop just in the wild, just by thinking. And the other type is complex mnemonics. Complex mnemonics require to develop our creativity, I would say even a lot. It's really hard to learn some complex mnemonics. We need a lot of time, a lot of practice, and yeah, it requires a lot of imagination. About the history of mnemonics, which may be interesting for some of you, it starts in the 6th century before Christ, so it was a long time ago. Here appears Simonides of Chios. Maybe some of you could hear about him. The history is more like legend, but it's the first time where mnemonics were mentioned. The history, the legend about the Simonides of Chios tells that Simonides was asked to go for dinner to one of the Greek merchants. They were eating dinner, and Simonides really didn't want to be there for a long time. So he ate his dinner and decided to went. The whole dinner took place in the castle. After him leaving the castle just was broken or was attacked, depending on the source you have. At least we know that the castle was completely destroyed. And then nobody knew who was invited to this dinner because there were so many people. There are merchants, knights, there are people from different countries. And finally, Simonides was the only one who survived. And at the same time, he was asked to help others to distinguish who were inside of this castle. So he, because his amazing imagination, about his really well developed brain, the ability to remember so many things, so many aspects, so many details, he was the only one who was able to identify the dead bodies of those people, and he was some kind of hero about distinguishing and fighting those people. And then we have a lot of people, a lot of famous people who are known from mnemonics. Aristotle, for example. But let's focus on the next person. It's the 16th century. 16th century right now. So after Christ was born. I will mention Jan Szklarek, who was the Polish author of a book, Opusculum de Arte Memorativa. And Jan Szklarek was the Polish author of the first printed textbook. It was the textbook about the art of memorizing, and it was the first such kind of textbook in Poland. So for my country, for example, it was really important. But as far as I know, there are also different authors. And if you have seen the Gambit's Queen, yeah, the similar book about mnemonics was published by the mother of the main heroine of this series. Another important person is Solomon Shereshevsky from 20th century, and he was Russian journalist. As a journalist, he was once asked to visit some places. He was given the addresses, but he didn't write them down, and his boss was really upset because he expected him to be more professional. He was professional, but in his own way. But he admitted that he could remember many things, that he could remember even thousands of words, and it wasn't such a big problem. So it was just his nature. But about remembering, he tried to develop some materials about how he can remember different things. Even after his death, many scientists tried to discover the way his brain was working when he was living, how he managed to remember so many things in so short time. As far as I know, he also tried to develop the method to forget different things, because he couldn't stand so much information at one time. It was really hard for him. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to. He could just remember more and more things. So we can leave the history and let's talk about what will help us to remember different information. The third thing is, of course, imagination. When we develop our creativity, when we let our creativity let free. Another thing, action. Action, because when so many things happen, when there is some kind of dynamics, it's just easier for our brain to remember something that isn't static. So you can add some action, some dynamics to what you want to remember. Then we have also emotions. Emotions, because many people focus on emotions, we live with emotions. The emotions are around us. And that's why we are more able to focus on and remember the information, I mean the news from, for example, newspapers. We can easily remember the news that speaks to our emotions. It speaks about very bad things or very happy things. Our brain also focuses on them. Then also are some things that concerns us, I will say, concerns us. So what happened in our neighborhood, for example, what happened near to us, what we are in some way connected to, because it's something that we know, we are kind of used to it, but it has something additional, something extraordinary. And also originality is something that helps us to remember. Originality, because we can get easily busy, we can be easily bored when, for example, talking about one and the same things for many hours, for many years, for many months. When we add some originality to our routine, this will be new for our brain, so it will also focus. But what we can do to support our brain, our imagination also? We can start from drawing with both hands at the same time. We can draw with our right and left hand the same thing on two different papers, or draw two different things at the same time with both of our hands. We can also try juggling. We can listen to baroque music. And also many scientists say about the benefits from baroque music, so it's of course an option for some of us. Here, for example, Vivaldi is recommended for development of our brain. Then we have also concentration building exercises, which can help us to start thinking about mnemonics, to start developing mnemonics. So let's firstly focus on something and then develop something new. And the last way can be doing so-called lazy aids. Lazy aids, so we can start from moving our hands in a lazy way from the right side to the left. Then we can do the same thing with our legs. We can do lazy aids with one hand, with the other hand. We can also try to move on two different sides, and it's really up to us. You may not be really aware of that, but you are using mnemonics in your everyday life. They're called acrostics. They are creative sentences made of first letters. So it can be in the United States of America, so the USA, and the United Kingdom, the UK. And we can use the example of the planets. Like, my very expensive monkey just saved United Nations. And what happened here? We have M for Mercury, V for Venus, E for Earth, M for Mars, J for Jupiter, S for Saturn, U for Uranus, and N for Neptune. So again, my very expensive monkey just saved United Nations. We can do the same with Roman numbers, like low-cost dried meat. L for 50, C for 100, D for 500, and M for 1000. So we have the whole sequence here. Then we have musical mnemonics, which are very simple. They are introduced to children, for example, to remember the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I guess you know that song. Then we have rhymes. You can try to remember when the America was discovered. I will give you a while. If you don't remember, you can use this rhyme. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So we have 1492 for Columbus. We have the whole rhyme, which will help us to remember the year. Another mnemonics is link system. We have to link different facts and create a chain between them. We can imagine objects and what should be done with them. So again, create a chain or a link. The things you have to do right now is to buy a book, do a laundry, and clean the floor. So, book, laundry, and floor. Firstly, you bought a book, but the book fell down to your washing machine. In your washing machine, there is dirty laundry that fell out and is on the floor. It's just a short story and mnemonics that doesn't have to be liked by everyone. Then we have number shape system. It's kind of easier, but requires to create the whole story. The basis is that each number has the certain shape or certain word, but you have to imagine that your number is a shape. For example, we have a sentence. One stick decided to go for a swim at sea. When the wind blew the sail, it turned out that the other stick was hiding behind it. It said that it wanted to be in time for the Battle of Grunwald and had eggs as a meal for the knights. Okay, so we have the whole story, but what happened here? We have different numbers hidden behind this story. We have one stick. Stick is the shape of 1. We have 2 sticks. But after the first stick, we had a sail with the shape of 4. Then appeared another stick, which is a number 1, and the last one shape is an egg, which is a 0. So we have 1, 4, 1, and 0 for 14 and 10. Another one is number letter method. It works like this, that when you want to remember some dates, some numbers, for example, you want to remember that there are 365 days in a year, you have to set the sentence so each word could have the certain number of letters in it. So if we want to remember the 365 days, it can be the muffin woman, because that is 3 letters, muffin is 6 letters, and woman is 5 letters. I hope you know the muffin man. Another method is DIY method, which is my favorite. It's called do-it-yourself method or writing the manual method. You can imagine writing the manual, creating the whole story, explaining something. It can be very useful, for example, when you want to present some materials you prepared, when you have to speak in public. So you can imagine yourself writing this textbook, this manual, or you can use visualization, where you, for example, are standing on a stage, and you present the whole material to the other people. Another one will be the mind map. You can use it in different ways, but the basic is that you have one keyword for you. For example, it can be birthday. From this birthday, you have to remember 3 things, like to buy gifts or to choose the gifts, to choose the location, or to prepare the party. So you have to draw 3 lines, or imagine 3 lines. At the end of each line will be one of these words you have to remember. So the party, the location, and the gift. About the location, you can choose the location at your home or somewhere else. So you imagine 2 more lines going from this location, and you can also write some benefits. If you choose home, write also some more benefits. You can make the decision the easiest way, and of course remember what you are focused on when choosing this location. When you want different location, you can draw or imagine more lines going to different places with benefits coming from these different places. Another method, and the method I mentioned in the previous podcast, is the parrot method. Parrot method, so you are repeating the thing till you remember. It's very common when people are learning new languages and they have to remember some more words. So, for example, when we are learning English, we start from I am, you are, he, she, it is, and again I am, you are, he, she, it is, and we are repeating and repeating and repeating till we remember. It's the easiest method, but about the effectiveness, each person really has to decide if it's a good and preferable method for them. The last one method, and the hardest one, is memory palace. If you watched Sherlock show, probably you know the memory palace. But how to start memory palace in your own brain, in your imagination? You have to imagine the place you know really well. It can be, for example, your home or your room. Then you have to imagine that there are different things inside of this room, like for example your wardrobe, the doors, and the window. So the special places when you can put some things you have to remember. Then you have to know what you want to remember. For example, I want to buy 10 apples. So I have to imagine that these apples really exist and they physically are inside of this imagined room. The room I know really well. And I could put them, for example, inside of my wardrobe. So again, visualization. So you have to see, you have to locate these apples or the other things you have to remember inside of certain place, and to remember that they're inside. So that's all about mnemonics for today. I hope I presented it all really clearly for you, and I hope you will use at least one of them in your everyday life, not just to remember different things, but also to just practice and maybe to develop your own creativity. Thank you for listening, and see you soon.